Hello and welcome to my channel. If you are new to my channel, my name is Laurée, and today I am going to be going over Sagittarius Sun with Aquarius Moon. The moon entered into Aquarius last night, and this is the 11th video in my series going over all Sun-Moon combinations, starting with Sagittarius season. So I'm going to start with what a typical Sagittarius is like, and then I'm going to talk about the Aquarius Moon, and then I'm going to talk about what those look like together and how they interact with each other. So a typical Sagittarius is fun, optimistic, idealistic. They are a very big picture sort of person. They like philosophical discussions. They like traveling and exploring new things and discovering the meaning to life and just pursuing deep philosophical meaningful goals. Having fun is of utmost importance to Sagittarians. They are known for having a great sense of humor and are actually quite blunt, but they usually do so in a humorous way. Pretty much everything that Sagittarians do, they kind of do with a degree of humor attached to it, just because they are so big picture and they are so concerned with like just bigger things like the meaning of life and exploring new horizons and having deep philosophical discussions and adventures. So they just kind of see the humor in the little things, just because in the grand scheme of things it doesn't seem to be that big of a deal to them. And because of that mentality of being so big picture and things just not seeming that important in comparison in the grand scheme of things, they have a tendency to kind of neglect their day-to-day responsibilities just because they don't seem that important. So like things like cleaning, doing laundry, paying bills on time, showing up to anything on time. Sagittarians are notorious for never being punctual to anything, so that depends on other placements as well, but for the most part that is a typical Sagittarius trait. They're also highly individualistic, so they really enjoy their freedom. They really don't like being tied down, and as a result of that, they tend to avoid commitment, whether that's to a place or a person. So they really take their sweet time in settling down. Again, that depends on the moon and Venus placement, but for the most part, Sagittarians are kind of a flighty sign, or they at least take their sweet time in settling down in a certain place or with a person because they want to make sure that that person or place won't infringe on their freedom and their individualism and them being able to go on adventures and have philosophical discussions and whatnot. So now we get to the Aquarius Moon. So Aquarius is trine Sagittarius, which means this is a very favorable compatible placement. So an Aquarius Moon is also highly individualistic and idealistic, so that works quite well. It really accentuates that part of Sagittarius. And Aquarius Moon is also quite intuitive and rational, and they love ideas, and they're actually a pretty good balance of thinking and feeling. They're very emotionally stable and just don't really get that easily worked up, which can be nice, but they can also come across as aloof because they just love their freedom and individualism so much, and that we even more so the case having a Sagittarius Sun with this moon. They can't handle clingy or possessive people or jealous people. In fact, for them, the more aloof the better. They're actually drawn to people that don't seem to have an immediate interest in them, and I feel like that is going to be even more so the case with Sagittarius because both of these placements prefer the chase as opposed to being chased themselves. But again, that can depend on the Venus placement as well. They can come across, like I said, aloof. They can even come across as detached with this moon because they don't have any loyalty for people that try to control them or infringe on their freedoms. And that's also the case for Sagittarius. So there's actually quite a lot of similarities between Sagittarius and Aquarius in the individualism and the freedom aspect. So this placement may have a hard time developing long-lasting connections to a place or people because both of these placements have two very distinct longings for freedom. So Sagittarius wants to go to something. They want the freedom in order to go somewhere or someplace or go on these adventures. Aquarius wants to leave. So Sagittarius is running to something, Aquarius is running away from something. So for example, say these were both like rebellious teenager placements. So you got the Sagittarius Sun, and they're wanting to go out and party and go joyriding, right? And their parents won't let them, and they rebel and go out and do it anyways, and they're doing that because they want to do that. Versus Aquarius is the teenager that like moves out because of the parents' rules against joyriding and partying studying, even if they don't necessarily maybe even want to do those things, but they want the option there. They are moving out because they don't like rules and restrictions. So it's very much a leaving in order to have freedom, leaving restrictions because they want their freedom, even if there's no specific freedom that is actually affecting them, versus Sagittarius wants to go do something. So there's slightly different approaches to freedom, but they're highly compatible, and just means that this person is very, very individualistic and wants their freedom and just to be able to do whatever they want. And they will rebel in order to achieve that. Aquarius is known for being quite a rebellious placement. That's going to be important to know, and I'm talking about the Great Conjunction in a later video. So this pair has enormously idealistic goals and ideas, and some of which may even be just unattainable, but doesn't matter though, because Sagittarius Sun is the kind of placement that wants to achieve big things and wants to spearhead these new, exciting, individualistic, idealistic goals that have great meaning to them. And so this pair probably has a fun time starting these projects. They may have a harder time following through than, say, a Sagittarius with an Earth moon, just because Sagittarius is a very impatient placement, and they have a tendency to have this kind of shiny object syndrome, and Aquarius isn't necessarily known for their follow through. It's not like they really lack it, but it's just, I don't think it's enough to really overcome Sagittarians' tendency to fizzle out and abandon projects for newer, more exciting ones. That said, though, they are far more likely to follow through than the other air moons like Gemini and Libra, because Aquarius is just far more opinionated and far more individualistic than Gemini or Libra. So it is quite possible that if this goal that this pair has is like, you know, philosophical and meaningful enough and is very individualistic, then Aquarius Moon could very well be the fan to the flame that Sagittarius needs in order to follow through on a meaningful goal. Right, that is all I have planned for today's video. Thank you for watching all the way through. If you haven't already, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. I will also leave a link in the description to my private Facebook group. That's the best place to learn even more about astrology and interact with yours truly, which is a treat in and of itself. I also just released my free astrology training. I will leave a link in the description below, so make sure you check that out. I will also be covering the upcoming transits. Saturn entered Aquarius, Jupiter will follow soon after, and then we have the Great Conjunction, so I want to be covering that transit. I will be doing that as soon as I can. Just been really busy with behind the scenes and my pregnant foster cat, so I will do my best to have those released on time, and they seem to be my most popular videos, so I may even start focusing more on those. Stay tuned for more. Thanks again for watching. I will be back later with more videos. Take care.